What's up, you guys? It's Ben. So, Amazon has introduced yet again more restrictions. In today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to talk to you about what has happened, what we can do to avoid those restrictions, and how to potentially make the best out of the situation. And at the very end, I'm going to tell you as to what exactly do I think of these restrictions. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they necessary? Having sold on Amazon for quite some time, I've seen a lot of these restrictions being set in place time and time again, and we've learned quite a few things of how to deal with them. So let's get to it. So the most recent changes that have come into Amazon is in regards to their inventory. In regards to their inventory specifically at the FBA Amazon warehouses. Now, this is probably for some of you guys that are already selling on Amazon, this is probably the email that you have got very recently. Actually, it came out on the 27th of July, so I believe it was last week. And basically this is pretty much blah blah blah, saying that there has been obviously changes in regards to preparation for COVID-19 and also the busy part of the year, the busiest part of the year, which for Amazon and the rest of us FBA sellers is effectively Christmas. And what they basically have introduced is a couple of things. Number one, they have increased their IPI minimum threshold to 500 points. Okay, now for you guys that don't know what IPI is, it's basically their inventory performance index. It's basically giving them, Amazon, and the idea of how well you are using your products at their warehouses. How quickly are they selling on Amazon? How quickly are you restocking them? Are there any products without any listings? Are there any stranded products as well? And various other metrics as well. And then based on those metrics, they give you a score. Now, if that score is below 500, there will be quite a few restrictions come into place. And the main ones are, number one, you're not going to have unlimited storage in their warehouse, okay? Right now, if you're above 500, you can send as much inventory as you can to Amazon warehouse. And the second one is that on the storage that you do have in the Amazon warehouses, your storage fees are going to go up dramatically. Okay, so it is in your best interest to try and avoid going below that sort of the critical number of 500, their performance index. So that's pretty much the first part. Now the second part is effectively affecting everybody, okay, and that is the quantity limit. So they are now, even for people that have got a good IPI score above 500, they're going to reduce the quantity limits effectively. So what that basically means is that they will provide you with around 2 to 3 months of storage for each and every single product. Okay, so if you're saying you're selling about 1,000 units a month, then they're going to allow you to send over at least sort of 3,000 units, which is great. But sometimes you have to understand that shipping from China, from various places around the world, does take time. Sometimes it can take 4, 6, 8, maybe even longer, 8 weeks. And even though they're giving us quite a lot of space effectively for these ASINs, it's really hard to make sure that your products are always running smoothly, always being sold, always being, you have just the optimal amount of inventory at the FBA warehouses. So this quantity limit is also not the best of news, to be completely honest, but hey, we just have to deal with it. And the very last part of the email is their free removals promotion. That's probably the only part that is good that's come out of Amazon in this latest news. And effectively what that means is if you do want to take out any of your inventory from their warehouses, you can get rid of it pretty quickly, completely free of charge. They're going to send it back to you or wherever you want them to be sent to, okay? And I actually got quite a bit sent back to my own house not too long ago, and it didn't cost me anything. They did send it within a couple of weeks time. So that's pretty much the latest news. Now, what can you do about this? How do we react to this as FBA sellers based here in the UK? And that's sort of my main people, that our main audience that I kind of want to target here. Well, the first thing is in regards to the inventory performance index. You effectively, if you have above 500, you just have to make sure you are aware of this index. If you have below 500, you have two choices, or three actually. Number one is do nothing and pay those extortionate storage fees, which I would highly not recommend. The second one is basically sending some of your inventory, the slow selling inventory, back to your own house. If you have a garden, if you have a shed, if you have extra space in your house, keep it there, because then your storage fees will be cheaper, and also your the actually points are going to go up over time. But if you don't have that facility, like I, for example, don't, then basically start looking into external storage units, okay, such as Big Yellow, or there's a couple of more as well, which basically you just go in there and you tell them how much square footage you need, and they'll give you a weekly price, and then you can just send all the inventory to those particular warehouses. Now, I've seen a lot of YouTubers actually complaining about this. There's so much more hassle, so much more work, etc., etc. And yes, it is. However, if you actually do the calculations as to how much Amazon is charging to hold your inventory on a monthly basis, and how much you get charged by one of these external storage providers, they pretty much work out the same. Sometimes I've got some quotes that are actually cheaper than Amazon's ones. So I am now actively starting to look to basically pull out some of my overstocked inventory and put it into one of these external storage units. I personally am going to be paying around £50–60 plus VAT a week. If you guys can come up with something better, then please do let me know. I would really highly appreciate that. But that's kind of the one part of how to avoid this sort of problem. Now, the second, with the quantity limits, it's basically, it's twofold. Number one, you just have to manage your inventory better. And number two, the main issue with this is that for any new product that you haven't sold before, that you don't have any sales history at all, you are only going to be able to send 200 units of inventory to the warehouse. Okay, now I have actually come across a way to send more than 200 on the first batch. However, that is against Amazon's T's and C's effectively, so that way I don't really want to share here on the video. But if you do want me to give you more information than that, just please email me at admin@fbamentor.co.uk. However, do that at your own risk. I personally am more than happy to do it, because I don't think there's any way of Amazon actually figuring this out, and it makes it my life a lot easier, as opposed to just sending 200 and then not knowing what to do with the rest of the units. But that's just one solution. The second solution is basically you hold the majority of your inventory again in either the external storage house, your own home, and then send drip feed effectively Amazon with the inventory that you can. Once the sales start coming in, and hopefully they are good, Amazon will allow you to send more and more units as time goes by. So those are my solutions that I could come up with. If you guys have any more sort of ideas of how to overcome these sort of problems effectively, that's how we'd like to call them, or sort of difficulties, then please do let me know. So I've been watching a lot of YouTubers, and what do they think about this particular issue? And majority of them, the vast majority of them, are actually having this sort of victim mentality. Effectively, they feel that Amazon is taking advantage of them, that they're making it much more difficult to now sell on Amazon, and they're doing everything they can to potentially start selling elsewhere and look for other ways to potentially make money. I want to look at it more from a positive perspective, and let me explain. Okay, there are a couple of positives that I can basically take out of this and actually see this as a positive in general. Okay, now first things first, if you were Amazon and you saw the amount of warehouses that you have and how full they are now and right before Christmas, when you do the same, when you come up with a system to make sure that the inventory, the very valuable space that you have for these products, is getting used up as much as possible, I mean, what has Amazon done is makes perfect sense. Now, there are actually a couple of positives that I see from this. Number one is the fact that this is going to be a much bigger problem for all the Chinese sellers that are selling in the UK marketplace. Now, if we're finding it difficult to store our units outside of the warehouses into external storages, or you know, at our own home, believe me when I tell you that the Chinese sellers are going to have even more of a difficulty to try and get that arranged, being at the other side of the world effectively. So it's a positive for us, because they will most likely not have so much inventory, won't be selling as much, have less profit, have to increase their prices, etc., which is great. Okay, the second thing, also from a competition perspective, I personally believe that the barrier to entry on Amazon is still extremely low. Okay, all you need to do is have half a brain, I had half a brain, and you can find a product and start selling. It's pretty simple once you understand it. Okay, now with these sorts of restrictions, such as sending your first units of 200 and only 200 and no more, it actually sort of deters a lot of the new potential UK sellers from trying out this method of making money, and therefore the competition for Amazon UK sellers, the existing sellers such as you and me, is actually going to go down. So I see it as a positive. I personally can overcome these issues without a problem. However, these issues are just more and more roadblocks, more and more difficulties that have to be overcome by new inexperienced sellers who are very easily distracted and kind of left, and they don't want to do it anymore once they see the first sign of trouble. And it's also more difficult for the Chinese sellers to manage their inventory as well. So to me, at the end of the day, the only issue that I have personally is effectively taking out some of the inventory and storing it in another place. That's it. And majority of you guys, experienced sellers, will most likely have exactly the same issue as well, which is not that much of a deal. And last but not least, for the new sellers as well, you should see that as a positive, because if you are still willing to go ahead with this business model, and if you're still willing to sell, and you're still willing to take the risk and go over all of these roadblocks that Amazon is putting in front of you, you are becoming more and more rare. There is less and less of you new sellers going onto the marketplace, and therefore there is less competition for a bigger pie. The pie of revenue, the pie of sales that is continuing to grow, and it will continue to grow in years to come. So think about that. Don't get deterred by all of these negative things about Amazon, all of these restrictions. There is so much opportunity for you to take advantage of. So don't start procrastinating and get started. I hope you guys found this video useful and a little bit motivational. If you do have any questions, please don't forget to comment and ask below. If you did like the video, please subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.